Unfortunately, much of the media in Washington, D.C., along with New York, Los Angeles in particular, speaks not for the people, but for the special interests and for those profiting off a very, very obviously broken system. The press has become so dishonest that if we don't talk about it, we are doing a tremendous disservice to the American people. Tremendous disservice. We have to talk about it. The press, honestly, is out of control. The level of dishonesty is out of control. No, the reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life. But I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone. You know the word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way.
Well, President Trump played rough with the media yesterday. Did you think he'd back off today? Come on. This is Donald Trump. Today, the president tweeted, quote, "The fake news media is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people." The usual suspects in the mainstream media immediately howled on social media that this was un-American. They seem to be forgetting that during the campaign, Hillary Clinton tweeted something a little bit similar. I'm sure there was just as much howling then, right? No? Oh, okay. We'll get to that in a minute. For now, a brand new Fox poll suggests the president may be winning his war with the media. The poll of 1,000 registered voters found 68% believe the media is tougher on President Trump than on President Obama. Also, 45% trust President Trump more than they trust the media, though 42% say they trust the media more, right within the margin of error. Slight advantage Trump. But can that advantage hold, and is there any danger to labeling the press the enemy of the people? Jessica Tarlov is Director of Research for Bustle.com. Richard Lowry is Editor-in-Chief of National Review. Color me lucky to say they're both joining us live right now. And Jessica, I said on Twitter that I was bringing on two rock stars. I promised that
But you don't want me to sing, right?
But I don't want either one of you to sing. But then someone tweeted back. Someone tweeted back that they want to know if Jessica was bringing a violin, and I assume that's because
a tiny one?
Tiniest violin.
They think you're going to hear this sad song about Donald Trump was so mean to the media. You know, he's unhinged, he's misinformed, and that maybe you and other Democrats realize Donald Trump was elected.
Oh, I absolutely realize that. I've been dealing with this reality for almost 4 weeks now, since inauguration. Before that, I was still a little hazy. No, I've come to grips with it, and Donald Trump won by being the Donald Trump we saw yesterday in that press conference. It was a base rallying cry there. He campaigned on the news is fake. Right? And he repeated that yesterday. The leaks are real, but the news is fake. There is something interesting also within that Fox poll, though. While 68% think that the media is tougher on Trump than they were on Obama, which I do think is true, partly due to how Donald Trump treats the media itself. There's a defensiveness that he's created. 55% said that they do want the press to cover him aggressively. So that implies that they want them to continue fighting back, to say things like, wait, I'm going to ask again. Please explain to me the timeline of when you found out about whatever conversation General Flynn had with the Russians. Can we get a yes or no answer to our questions? So the American public may think that he's not being treated like Obama was treated, but they want them to keep going. They want the truth.
Rich, you wrote today online at National Review that what's going to matter is not the theater of these news conferences or the back and forth perhaps of General Flynn. There may be there or not. What's going to matter is results on tax reform, on not just repealing but replacing Obamacare. So how is he doing on that score?
Yeah, I mean, my advice would be a press conference like yesterday. It's a lot of fun for everyone. You know, when Trump said, look, I'm not ranting and raving, I'm actually having a good time, he was telling the truth. He enjoys this. But his ultimate revenge on the media will be governing successfully and building a popular mandate to be elected for a second term. So I think he needs to get his White House on a firmer managerial footing. He needs to fill out his administration. He needs to focus on jobs. You know, the event he did yesterday with the miners, the event he did today with Boeing really should be the focus. And then getting a few big things done on Capitol Hill. The Gorsuch nomination, which is going to happen, but then Obamacare, repeal and replace, and tax reform, which are bigger, more complex tasks.
Jessica, I'm a little sad for you tonight because, we're going to have...
But I'm so happy, Ed.
Well, I'm sad because Senator Rand Paul is coming up in a few moments. I talked to him about Obamacare, and he's bringing a plan to this very anchor desk to not just repeal but replace Obamacare. And so I'm sad because this talking point you've had so long about Republicans not being able to replace Obamacare is no more.
Well, we'll see what the plan looks like. And the truth of the matter is it's only 16% of Republicans now who actually want Obamacare to be repealed. There's a lot in there that they do like. We know that kids being able to stay on their insurance until 26 is overwhelmingly popular, as well as maintaining pre-existing conditions. If Rand Paul can find the money to, get rid of the individual mandate and the country keeps ticking, then great. I'd love to hear that out. Republicans are in power. I'm facing it. I know we have to work together. But right now I think Orrin Hatch has the right idea, which is repair and not repeal. So one more night of that talking point.
Rich, tell me also, I remember, to be fair and balanced here, that every time Barack Obama went out and decided to visit one of the states across the country, Republicans jumped on him and said, he's in campaign mode. All this guy does is campaign. Not even a month has passed. Donald Trump's maybe in a little bit of hot water. He's campaigning. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, no?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a country now where the campaigning literally never ends. And look, I think he enjoys it. He enjoys the crowd. He feeds off them. We saw that in the campaign. And he doesn't want to stop when he's president of the United States. So this is, both sides do it. Both sides complain about it, but it's a reality.
Well, Jessica, what about, I mentioned this tweet that got some of the mainstream media a Twitter this afternoon, if you will, about Donald Trump suggesting that the media is against the country. The fake news media, failing New York Times, NBC News, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It's the enemy of the American people. Democrats freaked out about this, but they seem to forget in late 2015, Hillary Clinton was on Twitter saying, not the exact same thing, but Hillary on the enemies she's proud to have made, quote, the NRA, health insurance companies, drug companies, the Iranians, okay, fine, they're the enemy, but Republicans, she said, were enemies.
Yeah, I mean, that's a totally different debate. I remember talking about it and saying that it was inadvisable to me. I didn't like it also. At one point, she compared the GOP to terrorists when we were having a conversation about the war on women. That obviously wasn't smart, but they're not comparable. And it's not just Democrats that are upset about that tweet. It's everyone on both sides of the aisle. The Constitution is obviously critically important to the functioning of this country. That tweet shows that Donald Trump has very little respect for the First Amendment. And I can think back to just yesterday in that press conference, that line about the fact that the travel ban was rolled out well, but he got a bad court, as if his steak was cooked improperly or something like that. This is not how America works. 3 separate branches of government, all equally powerful, all checks and balances.
But this is what you need to understand. It's not a violation of the First Amendment for the president to say things.
No,
right?
Of course
now,
not.
if you were shutting down the press, that'd be something different. Now, I don't like labeling anyone an enemy of the American people. It sounds, Jacobin to me. But criticizing a court, criticizing the press, it's all part of a freewheeling debate.
Rich, you would never call a federal judge a so-called judge.
No, I wouldn't, but it's fine to say that the decision is wrong and tramples on the president's authority, which it does.
I want to give you each 15 seconds to Rich's original point. Let's bring it back to substance, which is what the American people care about. Jobs, tax cuts that he promised in the campaign. So there was this sort of freak out in the mainstream media that he's in crisis mode, things are falling apart, he might lose his chief of staff, all this freak out, and yet we see at the beginning of the Clinton administration there were all kinds of mistakes. They lost some cabinet picks. So 15 seconds each, starting with Rich. Has valuable time slipped for him to actually repeal and replace Obamacare, get tax reform, or is he still on target?
Well, time is slipping, but we've forgotten because we basically haven't done any legislating in 6 years. It's complicated, it's messy, and I think Trump actually directed congressional Republicans in the right direction. Do repeal and replace at the same time, and that's going to be a little harder and it's more complicated, but get it right.
Jessica, final word?
I definitely think if they're going to do it, that they need to do both at the same time. If even one American loses their health insurance, it's going to be a lot more people at those town halls. But I would say, going back to Rich's earlier point, if Donald Trump can deliver 4% GDP growth, he's going to get reelected. And that's where elections are won and lost. So
Jessica thinks he might be reelected. She didn't say he will, but he might be.
Do you know how hard it is to get 4% GDP growth?
Jessica, Rich, I promised that we'd have rock stars. You delivered. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ed.